Hello, it's Peter Wright and Kathleen Beauvais in Ontario, Canada, with another episode of the Yakking Show. This is the show that connects you with people, ideas to find opportunities for life and for business in the changing times we seem to be heading into. It's certainly interesting. And as always, we have interesting guests, but not my job to introduce guests. So let me first introduce co-host Kathleen Beauvais from down the road from me in Waterloo, Ontario. Hi, Kathleen. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Peter. Thank you so much for that intro. And thank you all so very much for tuning into our show. We so appreciate you and we love reading your comments. So please keep those coming. And if anyone is interested in being a guest on our show, please don't hesitate to reach out to either Peter or myself. We'd love to hear from you. And as Peter mentioned, we do have another special guest with us today. His name is Carlton Brunton. Hello, Carlton. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you. Now, Carlton, you are a video marketing expert who helps clients better understand how to effectively use video. For our audience, can you tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to delve into the world of video?
Of course. I mean, for me, my journey started back about 10 years ago or so, just over. And I have always been interested in game development. So I was a video gamer avidly from a very young age. And through that, I documented my process of wanting to become a professional gamer. So for me, it was always a way and an outlet to be creative, but also a way to kind of learn how to communicate. When you're young, you don't really necessarily know how to communicate very well. So it was a way for me to practice doing that and build a level of confidence that I otherwise didn't have. And I kind of got to the point where I was like, okay, well, what do I need to do for a career? Because you get to that age around 15, 16, where you're leaving school, and especially in the UK, you're kind of told, yeah, you kind of need to make a decision on what you're going to become, right? And I was like, okay, so I've always been interested in computer games. So I was like, well, maybe I should create computer games. And so that's what I went off to college to study and pursue in that respect. And I got to the point where I was about to go to your relationship with high school. And I stopped because I was like, okay, well, before I commit to doing the rest of the years that I need to do, let's actually ask what the reality is like, or what the relationships like in the industry. And long story short, I kind of made the decision that it would change and tweak my relationship to video games. And for me, it wasn't something I was willing to do. And long story short, I went for another couple of careers, but video has always been a common thread through all of those things. I've always wanted to document. I've always wanted to, trips to holidays, parties, those kind of things. And it's always been something that's really interested me, and telling stories specifically, which I'm sure we'll get into later, has always been something that's interested me. So for me, I always kind of was like, okay, well, maybe there's something here. And got into photography when I was about to make that decision on what I was really going to do as a career. And as your audience may know, or you may know, the skills between photography and videography are very similar in regards to technical use of a camera.
Mhm.
And I was like, right, okay, so at this point, I hadn't really created video content in the same way for about a year and a half, and I kind of missed it. So I was like, right, how can I take this new skill set that I have and create some video content? And I was just like, started out by looking at local events, looking at local businesses, being in a position where I was like, hey, look, I just want to promote Salisbury. I just want to promote what we've got going on, because I don't feel it's been promoted enough. And I've got this new skill set that I'm willing to try out. Right? Let's see whether I enjoy it. And one thing led to another, and people started paying me. And I had this kind of like eureka moment, was like, hold on, I can make money from running around with a camera. Okay, great, fantastic. But then the question, of course, came, do I really want to? Right? It was that same kind of thing I had with game development, which was like, okay, this is going to change what I was doing. But I was like, no, actually, this I'm really passionate about, and I can see a gap in the market, especially in Salisbury. But in general, I can see a future in creating video content for clients. And now that's what we've been doing for just under 6 years.
Very good.
And I forgot to
And
mention at the very beginning, Peter, that Carlton is actually from Salisbury in the UK. So
that's right. That's right. That's right. And before we got on to start the interview, I was chatting to Carlton because I've actually been to his city some years ago. I had relatives in Salisbury, in County of Wiltshire in England. It's not, for international viewers, it's not too far from Stonehenge, which was another stop on my tour there. And if I remember rightly, Salisbury has the cathedral with the tallest spire in the whole of the United Kingdom. I think it's over 400 feet tall, and the cathedral is 400 years old. And I went in there and admired the craftsmanship. To consider that that was built with no pneumatic or electric tools, all by hand, is absolutely unbelievable. So, sorry, I've diverged into a little bit of a history lesson, but it stuck in my mind for 20 odd years. So, Carlton, tell our audience why, especially the business people in our audience, which is most of them, why businesses should consider using video as part of their marketing strategy and tactics right now.
I mean, there's two. This is a very common question I get. So there's kind of two approaches that one could articulate the answer. And I think the core reason is people who've been in business long enough will know that people buy from people, right?
Yep.
Now, the problem with that in some ways is we can have a conversation today and that can be 45 minutes to an hour, but there's a limit on the amount of conversations one can have within a day, right? Because you're trading time to build that relationship. The power that video can give you is you can make one video, so let's say this piece of content, and it can go out and nurture or talk to or build a relationship with a larger percentage of your audience, or a larger amount than just one or maybe two, right? Which means you can basically compress time, because if I'm articulating a point to you and this wasn't being recorded, you guys would get huge value out of it, but that would be where it stops.
Yeah.
Right. That's where the value exchange would stop. However, if, as we're recording this as a podcast and as a piece of content, now we actually get to educate all of your audience, potentially all of my audience or percentage of my audience, and each other. Right. So now we've just scaled in this half an hour, 45 minutes, however long we end up actually having this conversation. It allows us to scale and compress the time and the knowledge that we have. So for me, that's the key reason about why it's the closest thing for people buying from people that you can actually gain without having to necessarily, of course, there's a level of trading time, right? Because you have to create the content, but in comparison to having a one-to-one or one-to-two or etc. conversation, it can be a lot more powerful. Now, it's important to establish that this isn't a replacement for those conversations. It should be an additional marketing stream for you, and something which can be very scalable, because you can do a video on this and then on this and then on, and so on, as you build your content stream and as you build your vault of content.
Right.
And an interesting point you made there is that your contact list will see it, our contact list will see it, and all sorts of people we never even thought of will see it because of third-party sharing, right? So somebody on one of our lists will like it and put it on their social media, or say to a friend, you better have a look at this. So the eventual reach is huge, far more than we can do on one-on-one. No, that's interesting. Kathleen.
What are some of the biggest misconceptions about creating videos that are out there?
I mean, the first one I'll mention is the one that I first struggled to help articulate our clients with, which is, oh my God, I need tens of thousands of dollars, pounds, etc. I need lots and lots and lots of production money. Now, it is true that productions can cost lots of money. Yes, they can, right? But the power of video, especially at the moment, because of the rise of short form and TikTok and you know, that short form content, is actually been the really large kind of, I guess, equalizer is the best word to describe it. And that's why I paused, because I wanted to make sure the right word was there. But I think it's the best equalizer of, because before, to get attention and to get consistent attention, you would have to have a production crew, have it well edited, or have a TV station or a former broadcast background to get viewership. But nowadays, everyone with their mobile phone can articulate something well, or create a piece of video, put it out on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, etc., and have almost as much chance, if not more chance, because it will be more authentic and less polished, that I have with a production crew and have with a production experience. So for me, I think the misconception is, number one, like, it's scary to do, which we'll go on in a minute. But number two, it's like that you need thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds to do it properly. You can, if you're doing it production wise, and there's pros and cons to both, but especially on the needing to have the gusto or the thoughts, or the like, I'm confident and I can talk to camera and I can do this. And it's one of those things where one of the psychological studies I always use is, there was a psychological study done a while ago where there was two groups, and one was asked to paint a picture. You're only allowed to paint one, and they're going to mark at the end of the period of time, so it was 2 weeks. And then there was the other group was given the option to paint as many pictures as they possibly could, and then they they choose one to show at the end. And what they found was that the people who were able to create more pictures than just the one and didn't do lots of research and did action and then learn an action and learn an action actually came up with technically a better picture than the ones that just sat there and was like, right, I've only got one picture to do. And the reason why I bring this up with video is the common issue that people run into is I'm rubbish at video. I can't do video. I can't come across confidently. I couldn't possibly have a conversation with two strangers talking into a camera today like we're doing now. But the thing is, if you do it over and over and over and over and over again, yes, the first bits of content are going to be terrible, but get them out of the way, because then you can start benefiting from actually using this medium as what it's meant for, which is that power and that connection and those people and that people connection that we just discussed.
And I can attest to that, absolutely, Carlton, because when Peter and I first started doing these, I was so uncomfortable, and it was almost painful actually to be doing this, because I got tongue-tied. I just didn't know what to say. I felt like I had a mouthful of marbles, and it is through practice, isn't it? It's just from doing it. Just practice doing it over and over again. You become more comfortable. And at least that's been my experience. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. Wouldn't you agree, Peter?
Yes, I would agree, but you're selling yourself short. I know, despite all your protestations of feeling useless and not knowing what to say, you were pretty good right from the start. So I've got to compliment you on that. Yes, I know you were nervous because I know you well, but you picked it up very quickly. I had the luxury of having done a lot of public speaking over my lifetime. And so I found, and I have a thick skin again because of the experiences I've had. So I'm not too worried about making a fool of myself. I do it quite regularly. So for me, it was quite easy to make that transition. So something I'd like to get your opinion on. I see, talking to people about using video in marketing, some get the wrong idea that the goal is to get lots of views to their videos. And I think it's more important to get the message across, perhaps a better message to a smaller audience, but the right audience. So what do you advise your clients there, Carlton?
I mean, I think it comes back to the objective about why you're doing it, right? Like we look at what you talk about here is vanity metrics. How many shares has it got? How many likes has it got? How many comments has it got? And the way I look at it personally is there's three kinds of content you should be creating for video specifically. Number one is awareness, which you are going to care about the viewership. You want to get as many numbers as many views, as many likes, as many comments, as many shares as possible. That's the point. Then you've got your nurture or your educational bits of content that we would probably class this under, which is probably, to be honest, going to be seen by, let's be honest, maybe 10% if you're lucky of your viewership at once, right? And that is to nurture that client list, nurture that audience to trust you, build a level of that relationship building element to say, look, I do know what I'm talking about. Look, I can help you move your business forward. And then, of course, you've got a level of sales content, right? Which is very clearly sales content. And this could be in a sales funnel, or this could be out on social, or this could be promoting a specific offer. And that's where you are going to sell it. You're going to pitch it. And you're really talking to the 2% or 5% of your audience that you've won over and you've trusted through the other bits of content we've just described. So in answer to the direct kind of conversation around vanity metrics, it's very important to understand the piece of content that you're measuring the views on. Which of those that I just mentioned is it? Because if it's not awareness, this is the only time where views and comments and likes and shares matter, then the views don't matter. Because at that point, you want it to be consumed by business owner, potential client, business owner. Let's be honest, your mom and dad, right? Right? Friends and family, that kind of thing. There's going to be a level of that, and that's fine. But they're the ones where it actually doesn't matter how many views it got. It's actually about how much meaningful connection did it actually do, or that message or that thing you were articulating, whatever you were teaching, do for the audience. I mean, arguably now I think about it, actually this in some ways is also an awareness piece of content because of the amount of potential reach it could get. So you are kind of looking at the numbers on a piece like this. But you also, especially as you get into the later parts of the conversation, because natural audience drop off, etc., you're then looking at, okay, well, what did people take from it? What is the value add here? What is the piece of information or the key takeaway or the actionable step that your audience is going to take away?
Very, very good explanation. That's one of the best that I've heard, to look at it with those 3 points of view. Excellent. Thank you for that. Back to you, Kathleen.
Well, I think you've already touched on this a little bit, and maybe we can take a deeper dive here. But can you tell our audience the different purposes for which you would create a marketing video?
Again, I mean, you're right. I did allude to it a moment ago, but it fits in that triangle. And I think that for me, whenever we work with clients, it really is about understanding, what do you want to do? Why do you want to do video? Right? Because the common one is, we need a promotional video.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. You genuinely might need a promotional video, but you also might need something else. Or you might want something else that's not a promotional video. The only way we can establish that is by having a conversation and understanding, what do you want to get out from the video? So it's all very well and good saying, we're going to do some video content, we're going to have a podcast, but what do you want to get? Because at the end of the day, you're giving business resources, time, energy, resources, money, etc., to this podcast, this show. Okay. So my question, I guess, back would be, what do you want the show to do for what you're doing overarching? Because if you can answer that question, then we can tweak and change and adapt the content to make sure that it's doing it, to make sure that we have KPIs or key performance indicators inside that content. So if it is an awareness video, right, that I alluded to, okay, we want it to hit £10,000 or 10,000 people or etc. Okay, fine. So that's our key performance indicator. If we don't hit that, what did we not do? Right? Is it because we didn't spend the right ad spend on it? Is it because we didn't spend ad spend on it? Is it because we didn't post it in the right groups? Is it because we didn't make the content shareable enough? Okay, these are all things we can think about once we understand what that piece of content is there to be used for. But if it's a piece of nurture content or a piece of educational content, okay, well, maybe the C2A or the key performance indicator is going to be how many clients we can send it to, who then get educated on the service or the product or our process, or why I'm validated as a, what is the perception in the market? So you did no video. What was the perception? And then now you've done some videos and you put some education out there. Now what's the average perception? So that would be the key performance indicator. Sales is really easy, especially if it's in the sales funnel. What was the conversion rate before with the old video or no video? And now what's the conversion rate with the new video?
Right.
So where would you put, I think it's almost a promotional video, but it has a tweak to it. I've noticed a number of companies are trying to make the general population who may not be customers feel good about them. And this is to paint their strategy green, for want of a better term, or politically correct. So there's companies that produce videos like that. Is that a tweak on a promotional video? How would you class that one?
I mean, that's actually... what jumps to mind was the Gillette kind of interesting pivot that they did when they were... Gillette as a brand has been very kind of masculine, and we are men and we shave and it's that very thing. And they did an experiment a couple of years ago, which was, we're going to completely change, or we're going to try this new thing that's completely not that, and it didn't work. And that kind of comes back to, what is your brand and what does it stand for? And you can pivot and change, but you're going to attract a different audience.
Sure.
I was having this conversation yesterday, talking to a guy whether we should make a new YouTube channel or not, because he had some gaming content on there and he established an audience for gaming, but now he wants to do live music because he's wanted to build a DJ side of the business. And I said, to be honest, you should keep the gaming channel as it is, even if you're not planning to touch it, and make a new one for DJing, because the problem is, the audience that followed you for gaming, they've subscribed for a specific reason, right? Like the people who subscribe to your YouTube channel have decided to subscribe because they love your show. They want to be notified when they see the show again. But if you then decided, no, actually, we're going to use this YouTube channel for cat videos, your audience is going to go, this is not what I subscribed for.
Right.
So I'm going to unsubscribe. I'm not interested anymore, because you're subscribed for a specific kind of content. And it's the same when you do like a promo video that we were alluding to, or the Gillette example. The reason why people were, legit, was because they resonated with that manly message.
Yes.
I'm an alpha. Of course I use Gillette because I'm an alpha. And then when they decided to change it, everyone who was their audience, which was the alpha, were like, no, that doesn't.
And sales dropped as well, significantly.
Yeah, because people went, I don't know, no. It's just, no, this, and that's a key example of like knowing your audience, right? And not changing things. Like, if it's not broken, don't change it, right? Is the crux there. And I think with Gillette,
Yeah.
like, they learned that mistake the hard way, and it cost them quite significantly, as you alluded to. But I think now they're going to be slightly more cautious if they do want to do a, that isn't alpha male campaign, because they've seen how it could not have a knock-on effect to their sales, which at the end of the day, like, if you're spending money, you want to increase sales, not decrease sales.
That's right. That's right. And you're absolutely right. Kathleen and I, that one of the criteria we have for accepting guests or looking for guests is that very question. Does it fit with what we want the show to do?
Mhm.
We have applications for people who would be really interesting, but it's not the sort of person that most of our subscribers want to hear. So at some point we might start another channel, but as the advice you gave to your friend, it would be totally separate from this one. So yeah, no, good point. And I unfortunately I see a lot of podcasters fall into that trap of trying to be all things to all people and not really attracting anybody. Yeah, good one.
Mhm.
So again, you've mentioned this earlier, and I told my bit, and Kathleen told you her bit. But many people are really nervous about appearing on video. I mean, a lot of them are bad enough about appearing on just on audio when you can't see their face, and even more so about video. So again, what advice do you have for the people who are absolutely nervous about starting?
I think the first thing is just, it's okay, right? Like, it's completely normal. Like, that's completely cool. You're doing this, like, really alien thing in most cases. So it's fine to be nervous.
Mm-hmm.
I think the next thing I would say would be, like, ask yourself legitimately, number one, are you doing it to grow your business? Okay, number one. Okay, number two, why are you nervous? What are you nervous about? The common ones are, what does my mum, friend, sister, brother, etc. think? Right? What do people I care about think?
Yep.
Or what if I get a hate comment?
Mm.
The world ends. It doesn't. The crux is, you have to ask yourself from a psychological point of view what the hurdle is,
Mhm.
and be very honest with yourself and say, either you're taking this very seriously because you can see the potential that it could grow your business or move your business in the direction you want it to move, and you're willing to do it no matter how uncomfortable it feels, or you're not. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Neither of which are wrong. It's about understanding that. So it's wrong of me to give, like, advice to say you should do this and you should do that, because at the end of the day, if someone doesn't actually, because there's a privacy conversation here, right, as well,
Yeah.
right? Because some
Yeah.
people genuinely just like, yeah, look, I'm here in business, I want to do as well as I can, but I'm not willing to put my own identity out there. I'm not willing to be a public figure. That's cool. That's good. I get it. I made the decision very early to say I'm willing to be a public figure because of all the benefits, and I'm willing to take the criticism, and I'm willing to document what I'm doing, and I'm willing to have basically all of what I say online forever and can be cut out of context and can be potentially used against me. Fully aware of that, and I've already committed to doing that because of how long I've been doing it and so on. But the thing is, for me, I have the confidence and the belief in myself where I'm not going to be tied. My value of myself personally is not going to be tied to what does this random person on TikTok think of me? What does my friends, family, etc. think of me because I create a video? Look, they're going to tease you because partly, if it's your brother, sister, etc., that's their job as your brother and sister, right?
Correct.
If it wasn't that, they would tease you because your hair is a different color, or they would tease you because you're wearing, why you're wearing that? That's really weird, etc. Right? There would be something else, right? But at the end of the day, is this the path that is going to allow you to grow your business forward? Yes or no? And if it's yes, are you willing to grow your business?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
if good point.
And if both are yes, sorry to cut you off, but if both are yes, then you just have to get it done.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. We had gentleman but north of you from Edinburgh on the other day, and he's a European public speaking champion, and he helps people in business get used to public speaking. And as I said, I've done a lot of public speaking, and I was a member of Toastmasters for many years. And I found that not just for myself, people who came through Toastmasters or some other group where they could practice speaking in public in a safe environment adapted to speaking on video far easier than people who never had any experience of speaking in public. Have you found that as well?
I think that's definitely possible, but just talking personally, I did the video talking bit first, and I thought I would just be able to go into a front of an audience and just completely ace it. Because I'm like, been talking to cameras for years, like this must be a piece of cake for me. And I was like, oh my God, I've got these nerves again. Oh my God, like I've got sweaty palms. Like, what's going on? Like, I've got all the physiological response of being nervous. But the thing is, it's like, it's a different, they're similar, but they're different skill sets.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
And I think it's very important as a potential step up, if you are going to do public speaking and or you want to get on camera, do the one that you feel less intimidating. So then you can jump to the other one, because there is crossover skills. Right.
Sure.
For me, I was very fortunate that I've been on camera for a very long time. So
Mhm.
my jump from I'm going to perform in front of a camera and I'm going to perform, which is basically what public speaking is, perform in front of an audience, it's very similar because I've been doing the video element for years. So it was then just about, okay, how comfortable do I feel in front of actual people, right? Because we do the same thing, whether it's for a camera lens or whether it's in person.
Right.
But I think that was what was really unique for me, because as I said, I went into it going, I'm going to ace this. This is going to be a piece of cake. And then I was like, whoa, hold on, whoa.
A little different.
Hold on a second. I've got sweaty palms. I'm nervous. What if I fluff my words? What if I've got butterflies? Like, what is going on? I haven't felt this way in like many years.
Yeah,
which was great for like a growth point of view from my perspective, but it was a really interesting thing. And that's why I say they're similar, but they're not the same.
Absolutely. Yeah. I had another interesting one that I've done, as we've done hundreds of these, and I've been on a lot of other podcasts. And then I did a live interview in a studio for a radio station. And I wasn't too bad, but I found it a different environment and a different feeling to talking to the computer screen, you know. Yeah, so that it was yet another exposure to there's subtle differences in that as well.
Right.
Good.
So Carlton, if I were to contact you as a client, what steps would you first take with me?
So the first step in either in a discovery call or just before working together call would we establish, okay, again, as I say, why do you want to do video? What do you want it to do for you? Everyone comes to you and says, I want to do a promotional video, I want to do a video podcast, I want to do this. But what I need to know is, what do you want that to do transactionally for your business? Is it create more awareness? Is it educate your clients? Is it give you a way to be trusted and your personality to come across? Is it a sales tool? Right? Let's be just frank and honest. Is it going to be a sales tool?
Can it be all of those things?
And then when we establish that, we would then rate me money. But that's important, right? At the end of the day, again, as I've said throughout this podcast, you're in business. You want to grow. You want to make more money, right? It's about being honest with, is that the purpose of the video? And if it is, actually, what does that mean? Because we might say, every client, when I ask them that, says, I want to make more money. I want to make more clients. I want to have more clients. I want to be able to talk to new people. And I say, okay, but what's the hurdle in the way currently that you have at the moment? Is it you need the people you already know you to be educated on what you do, or to highlight a service that you maybe under promote or don't, for example, the coaching element from our side at the moment. This is exactly what we're working on internally at the moment is, okay, how can I promote the coaching offering more? Because not enough people know that I even have a coaching offering. So of course it's going to have less interaction than our video production arm, because we've done less marketing around it. So I think it's about establishing, and this is in answer to the question, like, what are the stages that we would go through? The first stage is understanding why you want to do video. The second stage is then logistically working out if there's any challenges and the creative conversation around how we're going to create that video to tell that unique story, or to work out what that story is going to be and then how we can create that story. And then the third is to discussing a level of budget. Now, 2 or 3 can be swapped out and can be either number 2 or number 3, depending on just the flow of the conversation. But it's in that first call, the things we need to establish is, number 1, what is it going to do for the business? Number 2, roughly what's the creative plan? So is it going to be a set of interviews? Is it going to be a set of promotional videos? Is it going to be something more complicated, etc.? And then how much money are you willing to spend on it, and across for what in exchange? And then what we'll do is we'll start then creating a pre-production plan to help the production actually move forward. And as long as you're happy with the price and you would be happy with what we're going to do, we would then look for a logistical day to actually go and film or work with you on those, and then so on, and moving through the production process in that respect.
Good. Well, sounds good. Sounds thorough. So we're getting towards the end of our time. Do you want to tell our audience quickly about the exact services you do offer? Because for the uninitiated, video seems like a huge thing, and a lot of people don't realize all the little components. You've just alluded to some when you were talking to Kathleen about how you operate. go ahead. Tell our audience about what you do.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll keep this really short and sweet because I'm aware of time. But the first and the base one, and the one that might be the most valuable for your audience to start with, is our coaching offer. Designed for the coaching offer is to take someone who doesn't know how to do video, doesn't really know why they want to do video, but they kind of like, they know they need to do it, but they just have no idea where to start. We can come in, we can say, okay, great. Let's firstly build up your confidence. Let's build up some plans for you. Let's help, let's do some, maybe help you point in the right direction with market research wise, do you like this style, etc. And what we're going to try and get you to do is start creating confidence and building that confidence with creating content and have a helping hand. So firstly, you can get into the habit of doing it. So if you're going to create Instagram Reels or TikToks, that would be a way to start. And then as we grow and mature with you as a client, you will then start suggesting, have you thought about how you optimize this? Have you thought about what hashtags to use? Have you thought about what copy it goes with? Have you thought about trend jacking, which I haven't even talked about today? Have you thought about, what the problems are in your business, which I alluded to throughout this podcast? And that's kind of the coaching offering. And that will sometimes lead on to people creating a podcast like this, or a live stream, or a webinar, or a Q&A show, which leads on to our second service, which is a repurposing service. So we could take this long form piece of content, which is a half an hour conversation, and we could take out the key moments from either what I said or what you said, or etc. And we could create social media content that would fit in Reels, TikTok, Instagram, or LinkedIn, short pieces of content that are 90 seconds to 2 minutes, that point out to, hey, this was part of a larger conversation or a larger podcast that we really enjoyed having with Carlton today. If you want to see that episode, go over here to see that, for example. And it also allows you to be front of mind in regards to what you do when it comes to showing up on social media.
Sure.
And then, of course, for slightly more localized clients, unless clients, of course, want to fly me out to America, Canada, etc., is then the video production service as well, which is our full-fledged, we come and we create all the content and everything below as well in that respect.
So 2 questions from that. Your coaching obviously is virtual. You do that all on Zoom or Skype or something. And then you said for your local clients, how far do you travel outside of Salisbury?
So we, in most cases, will travel where the work is, but in regards to a day, which means I can quote it within a day, it's a 3-hour drive. And the reason why is because we can do that in one day. It's a very long day, but we can do that in one day. So we can do 6 hours of traveling plus the shoot day. If it's anything above that, we can still do it, but it would just mean it'd be a more complicated quoting process because we're going across multiple days, travel days, potentially a week's worth of shooting, etc. And we want to make sure that the client's getting the most out of that time as well as us.
Yeah. So that 3 hours would get you to London then, right?
Yeah. So we can easily get to London. London's 90 minutes. We can go quite a bit north, and of course further south and
sure.
And
so
reason east or west as well.
You can get to the Midlands as well, right?
Yeah.
I mean, okay. So
we're starting to get to like around the 3-hour mark, depending on where in the Midlands we're talking.
Sure. Okay, well, that still gives you a huge population base that you can get to in the UK within 3 hours, right?
Absolutely.
Very good. Back to Kathleen.
Yes, we're running low on time, but how do people contact you, Carlton?
So the best way is just to look at the website if you want to see some of our work, or check out my LinkedIn because it's the most active platform. But of course, we are active across all of the other social medias. If you are interested in LinkedIn specifically, it's just my name, which is Carlton Brunton, and everywhere else it's Brunton Media.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. What a privilege to have you on the show today. Thank you. And once again, thank all of you for tuning in. And until next time, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.